Usually when we talk about buying or building a house, there's this underlying expectation of permanence.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, it's the classic American ideal, right? You buy the dirt, you pour the concrete, and the builder points to it and basically says, there it is, solid as a rock.
Right. And we find a lot of comfort in that. I mean, real estate, for most people, is supposed to be the one asset that literally does not move.
Exactly.
Ugh.
But then you step into the reality of Texas real estate in 2026, and suddenly that concrete is sitting on something that breathes and shifts and exerts like 10,000 pounds of pressure.
Yeah, it completely shatters that idea of a static asset.
It really does. Welcome to your custom deep dive. Today's mission is to decode the entire life cycle of Texas real estate in 2026.
And we are looking at a landscape that is incredibly dynamic right now.
Totally. We're analyzing a pretty massive stack of sources for you today. We've got Houston market forecasts, some highly technical structural engineering guides, financial breakdowns, and even the text of some truly historic Texas tax legislation.
Which is fascinating, by the way.
Oh, it's wild. So whether you're looking to buy, build, invest, or you just want to understand the hidden forces shaping one of the country's most dynamic markets, we're going to break down the surprising mechanics at play here.
Including some things that sound totally backward.
Right, like why you literally need to go outside and water your dirt to save your house. And how a unanimous new state law is mathematically poised to eliminate school taxes for half the state.
It really is an incredible life cycle. But, to truly grasp the mechanics of building or paying taxes on these assets, we first have to look at the playing field itself.
The environment where all this is happening, right?
Exactly. Because it has undergone a massive shift. The 2026 Houston market forecasts point to something that feels, honestly, almost mythical after the chaos of the early 2020s.
You mean true stabilization?
Yes. It's a profound return to pre-pandemic normalcy.
Right.
Which is something, a lot of other major U.S. cities are still desperately trying to achieve.
Yeah, the data is pretty stark. The median home price in Houston has held remarkably flat, right around $334,990.
Right, but the really crucial metric shaping behavior right now isn't the price. It's the inventory. It's expanded to a record 39,490 active listings.
Okay, so wait, that translates to about a 5.5-month supply of homes, right?
Exactly. That is the highest level we've seen since, 2012?
Wow, over a decade.
Yeah. And because of that robust supply, properties are sitting for an average of 64 days. So the days of a home selling sight unseen in a single weekend over asking price.
Just totally gone.
Entirely gone. This is a balanced market now. Buyers finally have leverage again.
Which is great for buyers, but I was reading this fascinating playbook in our sources from the Champion School of Real Estate. When a market shifts from a weekend frenzy to a measured 64-day cycle, the agents have to change their entire operational approach.
Oh, they have to hustle completely differently.
Right. They can't just stick a sign in the yard and wait for a bidding war. The guide details how agents are adapting their social media strategies to survive this, and they call it the 411 rule.
It's a pretty stark pivot. I mean, when buyers have nearly 40,000 homes to choose from, their psychology shifts. They have time to be meticulous.
Right, they have options.
Exactly. So an agent can no longer rely on scarcity. They have to actually earn a buyer's trust by providing tangible daily value.
So the 411 rule is this specific ratio for posting online. For every one blatantly self-promotional post, like a hire me graphic or a listing, they have to share 4 pieces of highly informative content and 1 reshared post from someone else in the community.
Which is a lot of work.
It is, but it reminds me of being a good party guest. You can't just walk into a room and talk about yourself the entire time. People will just back away from you.
Yeah, you have to offer value to the conversation.
Exactly. But you were saying it's exhausting for the professionals.
Oh, totally. You're essentially asking real estate agents to become full-time media companies overnight just to survive. Those 4 pieces of informative content, they require massive research.
Like local mortgage updates or zoning changes.
Right, or property tax deadlines. But it works because buyers are doing their homework now. They're looking for an educated guide.
Not just a salesperson. Okay, so let's put you, the listener, in this exact scenario. You've got your savvy 411 agent. You find your absolute dream home in this balanced market. But there's a massive logistical hurdle.
You haven't sold your current house yet.
Right. So how do you actually bridge that financial gap without losing out on the new house?
This is a super common friction point, and it brings us to specialized financing. specifically bridge loans. Some people in the industry call them gap or swing loans.
Okay, and what's the actual mechanic there?
Their primary function is just to purchase time. They cover that really stressful middle zone between buying the new place and liquidating the old one.
You know, the way I conceptualize a bridge loan is it's like paying a premium for a VIP fast pass at an amusement park. Or maybe a better analogy is laying a temporary wooden plank between two moving boats.
Oh, I like the boat analogy.
Right. It lets you cross over with all your stuff right now, skipping the wait. But you're paying a huge premium for that plank. And if those two boats drift apart before you cross, you are falling in the water.
That captures the tension perfectly because bridge loans are structurally short-term, usually just 6 to 12 months.
Okay.
And because they carry significantly higher risk for the lender since they're betting on a sale that hasn't happened, they come with much higher costs, usually the prime interest rate plus 2 full percentage points.
Wow. So it's not cheap.
Not at all. And structurally, you might just make interest-only payments or sometimes no payments at all until a massive balloon payment is due at the end of the term.
When your old house is supposedly sold. Look, I have to challenge the safety of this. Because we just said homes are sitting for 64 days on average. What happens if your specific house sits for 120 days?
That is the risk.
Right. Like, what if a major employer leaves town and demand just drops? If that 6 to 12-month clock runs out, aren't you staring down the barrel of a dual mortgage foreclosure?
It is dangerous if used recklessly, absolutely. If your timing is off, it becomes a terribly expensive trap.
So why do it?
Because you have to weigh it against the alternative. If you lose out on a property that matches your exact 10-year lifestyle needs just because you were waiting on a buyer, that's a different kind of loss.
Okay, that makes sense.
The bridge loan is a calculated premium for immediate liquidity, which is why lenders usually require you to have at least 15 to 20% equity in your current home to even qualify. They need a buffer.
It's a tactical tool then? How does that compare to, say, a fix and flip loan or a construction loan?
Completely different operational phases. A fix and flip is all about speed, getting in, making cosmetic updates, getting out in under a year.
Okay, and construction.
A construction loan is funding the actual creation of value from the ground up. It carries the highest risk for a lender because the collateral doesn't even exist yet, so they don't just hand you a lump sum.
Right, they use draws.
Exactly. Highly controlled, phased dispersals. The lender sends an inspector to verify the foundation is poured before they release money for the framing. So if a bridge loan rewards precise timing, a construction loan demands intense operational discipline.
Well, what if a buyer just doesn't want the stress of that bridge loan's ticking clock?
Yeah.
Our sources mentioned a couple of clever alternatives.
Yeah, the 80-10-10 loan is a big one, also called a piggyback loan.
Break that down for us.
It's a very elegant workaround. You put 10% down in cash, secure a traditional mortgage for 80% of the price, and take out a second mortgage for the remaining 10%.
But why would a bank agree to take the second position? Isn't that riskier for them?
It is, which is why that 10% second mortgage has a higher interest rate. But for the buyer, it acts as your bridge. It gets you to that 20% down payment threshold, which lets you avoid paying private mortgage insurance or PMI.
Oh, that's smart. And you keep your cash liquid.
Exactly. And you can pay off that 10% loan entirely the moment your old home sells without the extreme pressure of a 6-month balloon payment.
Love that.
Yeah.
The other alternative mentioned is a rent-back agreement, where you sell your current home, get the cash, but negotiate to literally rent the house back from your buyer for a few months.
Right. It buys you time to shop in this balanced market without moving your furniture twice.
Okay, so let's say you decide to bypass existing homes and build a custom home instead. You've solved the financing, but now you hit a literal roadblock. The geology of Texas does not want your house there.
Soil mechanics. This is where it gets crazy.
Yeah. In Texas, especially across Dallas, Houston, and Austin, the dominant feature is this expansive clay soil called black gumbo.
And black gumbo is responsible for a staggering 65% of all foundation problems in the state.
The mechanics in the JRH engineering reports are intense. They describe the soil breathing like a giant lung. During summer droughts, the clay shrinks and exhales, pulling completely away from the house. But when the spring rains hit, it inhales and swells up to 12% in volume.
And that swelling is violent. On a molecular level, water wedges between the silicate layers of the clay. It generates pressures exceeding 10,000 pounds per square foot against the foundation.
10,000 pounds. To put that in perspective, that's like an adult African elephant standing on every single square foot of your house.
It will literally snap a structure if the builder isn't prepared.
So what are the warning signs? If you're a listener living in these zones, what do you look for?
You're looking for differential movement. The house isn't settling evenly. You'll see stair-step cracks in your exterior brick.
Like literal zigzags.
Yeah. Inside, doors and windows will suddenly stick because the frames aren't square anymore. Or, if you put a level on your floor, a slope of more than ½ inch over a 10-foot span is a massive red flag.
How do structural engineers solve an elephant stepping on your house? You can't just pour thicker concrete, right?
No, you have to alter the soil's chemistry or bypass it entirely. One method is chemical soil injection. They pump a proprietary solution deep into the ground that uses an ion exchange process to alter the clay's structure.
Wow, so it prevents it from absorbing water.
Exactly. It reduces the soil's plasticity by 40 to 60%.
You're changing the chemistry of the earth before pouring concrete. That is wild.
Or they use a post-tension slab. That's a grid of high-strength steel cables stretched tightly inside the concrete. It holds the slab under immense compression so it moves as one rigid unit.
Instead of cracking in half.
Right. And for severe cases, they use helical piers, giant steel screws driven down until they hit stable bedrock, totally bypassing the clay.
But the rules change entirely if you go down to the coast, like Brazoria County's VE zones.
Totally different environment. Down there, you're dealing with sandy soils. Sand drains well, so it doesn't expand, but it shifts and erodes.
So what's the fix there?
Deep foundations far below the loose sand and expanding polyurethane foam injections. The foam expands, fills voids, and literally glues the loose sand particles together to create a stable base. Plus, building within 1,000 feet of the mean high tide line triggers incredibly strict coastal codes.
Which brings us to arguably the most important decision. Picking the right builder. You can't just hire a guy with a hammer for this. You need a master builder. Our sources differentiate between 3 distinct types.
Right. First, you have the luxury custom builder. They're hired early, act as a consultant alongside your architect, and ensure the design can actually survive the black gumbo efficiently.
Anticipating the structural costs from day one. Then there's the design-build firm.
Which is a one-stop shop. Architects and construction teams under one roof, single contract, very fast process, minimal miscommunication.
And finally, the bid-to-build contractor. This is the traditional route where you have blueprints, you get multiple bids, and you usually pick the lowest price. But honestly, given that 10,000 pounds of pressure we just talked about, the lowest bidder sounds terrifying.
It is the inherent danger of bid-to-build in Texas. A contractor trying to present the lowest bid is incentivized to cut corners on the unseen elements, like soil prep or chemical injections.
Right. You save 30 grand on the bid, but spend 100 grand fixing a cracked foundation 3 years later.
Exactly. A true master builder brings an uncompromising understanding of local geology.
Okay, so you've navigated the market, secured the financing, and engineered the house to survive the earth. But protecting a real estate asset is an ongoing battle. Let's talk about maintenance, because there is a deeply ironic rule in these guides.
Oh, the watering rule.
Yes, you spend all this time and money trying to keep water AT of your house, but you have to purposefully water the dirt outside of it.
It sounds totally counterintuitive, but watering your foundation is arguably the most critical preventative maintenance in Texas.
Because of the contracting clay we talked about.
Right. If you let the perimeter soil dry out in the summer, it shrinks and physically pulls away from the concrete, removing the support the foundation relies on.
The structural guides mandate that the perimeter soil cannot go 30 days without moisture. You have to actively run soaker hoses around your foundation during dry spells.
It's mandatory.
There are other hyper-specific tasks too, like running your washing machine completely empty the very first time to flush out construction debris, or applying 100% silicone over bathroom grout lines to fight the Houston humidity.
It's all about preventative defense against the environment. But, protecting the asset goes beyond physical maintenance. You also have to navigate state legislation.
Which brings us to the massive 2026 tax windfall. Senate Bill 4 and Senate Joint Resolution 2.
This is a huge overhaul to Texas property taxes. The core mechanism is the Homestead exemption.
Right, which shield a specific portion of your home's assessed value from school district taxes.
Exactly. And school taxes usually make up the largest chunk of a Texas property tax bill. Historically, this exemption was $40,000. Then it jumped to $100,000. Now for 2026, it has been aggressively increased to $140,000.
And it goes up to $150,000 for seniors or the disabled.
Correct. Plus, there's a 10% cap on assessment increases for homesteads, meaning your taxable value cannot legally increase by more than 10% in a single year, no matter how much the market value skyrockets.
Now, looking at this purely from a mathematical standpoint, putting any political debates about school funding entirely aside, the raw numbers here are staggering.
They really are.
According to the Lieutenant Governor's office, there are 492 independent school districts in Texas. That's 49% of the entire state. And in those districts, the average home value is under $140,000.
The implication there is profound.
Yeah, for the average homeowner in half the state of Texas, school maintenance and operation property taxes will be completely 100% eliminated.
The scale of that relief is massive. It translates to thousands of dollars a year staying in the pockets of individual homeowners. And just contextually, Senate Bill 4 passed the Texas Senate with a unanimous 30-0 vote, universal bipartisan agreement.
But from a homeowner's perspective, you have to actually file the paperwork, right?
Yeah.
The deadline is April 30th.
Yes. The burden is on you to be proactive. Though if you miss it, the law allows you to file retroactively for up to 2 years.
And they'll issue a refund.
Literally issue you a refund check for your overpayment.
That is incredible. So whether you're signing a contract on a 64-day listing, or you're engineering chemical soil injections, or filing retroactive tax paperwork, you aren't just buying a static asset.
No, you're buying into a complex ecosystem.
Right. It requires an active relationship with market economics, subterranean geology, and state law.
You're managing a dynamic entity.
Which leaves us with a final puzzle to ponder. We have this 10% cap keeping assessed values artificially low during market booms, and we have this massive new $140,000 exemption that mathematically wipes out school taxes for average homes in half the state.
It's an incredibly attractive environment for property owners.
So what will this landscape look like in a decade? Will this unprecedented tax relief draw a massive new wave of out-of-state buyers? And if it does, will that renewed demand completely break the very stabilization we're seeing in the market today?
It's the ultimate cycle of cause and effect in real estate.
A house is never just a rock on solid ground. It's a living thing you have to navigate, fund, engineer, and yes, literally water. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Keep questioning the ground beneath your feet.